In vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for he grants sleep to those he loves. But what does it mean? First time I read this, I was like, wait, is the Bible telling me my 5 a.m. morning routine is pointless? Is God anti-hustle culture? And the answer is kind of yes, but not in the way you'd think. Here's what I thought this verse meant at first. Don't work hard, just trust God and everything will magically work out while you nap. Which sounds great, except bills exist and trusting God isn't accepted as payment, so that interpretation seemed impractical at best. But then I actually looked at what it's saying. It's not don't work. It's don't work in vain, and there's a difference. The Hebrew word there is shav, which means empty, worthless, without purpose. So it's not condemning hard work. It's condemning anxious, frantic work. Work that's driven by fear instead of trust. The rising early and staying up late part isn't about your schedule. It's about the anxiety behind the schedule. It's about the person who can't rest because they're terrified that if they stop grinding for even a second, everything will fall apart. That's me. I'm that person. Hi. I rise early not because I'm disciplined, but because I'm anxious. I stay up late not because I'm productive, but because I'm convinced that if I don't do more, it won't be enough. And this verse is looking at that whole system and saying, yeah, that's vanity. That's emptiness. You're running on a treadmill thinking you're getting somewhere. The second part is even more brutal, for he grants sleep to those he loves. Other translations say he gives to his beloved even in their sleep, which is somehow worse because it implies God's out here blessing people while they're literally unconscious and doing nothing. Meanwhile, I'm over here earning my worth through productivity, and God's like, yeah, I'm just gonna bless this person who's napping, actually. Kind of the whole point of grace. Because what this verse is really asking is, do you believe God provides, or do you believe your anxiety provides? Do you think your frantic energy is what's keeping everything together, or do you trust that God's got it even when you sleep? And honestly, I believe my anxiety provides. I really did. I believe that if I don't worry enough, plan enough, work enough, something will slip through the cracks and it'll be my fault for not being vigilant. I treated anxiety like it's a spiritual discipline, like God helps those who stress themselves into burnout. But this verse says that whole approach is in vain. It's empty. It's toiling for food as if God isn't the one who feeds birds. The word toiling there is important too. It's not just working, it's laboring painfully, grinding, hustling, the kind of work that's joyless and desperate. And look, I get why we do this. Life is expensive. Jobs are unstable. The economy is a nightmare. Rent is insane. Just trust God feels irresponsible when you've got real bills and real responsibilities. But I think the verse isn't saying don't be responsible. It's saying don't make an idol out of your own effort. Don't trust your hustle more than you trust God. Don't believe the lie that your anxiety is what's holding everything together. Don't rise early and stay up late out of fear, like you're the one keeping the sun in the sky. Because here's what I've noticed, all my anxious grinding hasn't actually made me more secure. It's just made me more tired. I'm not more provided for because I worried more. I'm just more exhausted. The things I was afraid would fall apart if I rested, most of them were fine. Some of them fell apart anyway despite my anxiety. Turns out my stress isn't actually load-bearing. And the verse ends with he grants sleep to those he loves. Sleep, not success, not achievement, not a perfect life. Sleep, rest, the ability to stop and trust that God's got it. That's the gift. That's what God gives to his beloved. Not a life without work, but a life without the anxiety that makes work feel like survival. Because if I accept that God grants sleep to those he loves, then I have to accept that rest isn't laziness. That stopping doesn't equal failure. That I'm loved even when I'm not producing. That my worth isn't tied to my output. That God doesn't love me more when I'm hustling and less when I'm resting. That's a completely different operating system than the one I've been running on. I've been operating on earn your worth through productivity, and God's operating on you're already loved. Now rest in that. One of those systems leads to burnout. The other leads to sleep. And I kept choosing burnout because it felt like I was doing something. But doing something in vain, doing it out of fear, out of the belief that it all depends on me, that's not faith. That's just exhausting. So what does this look like practically? I think it means I still work. I still show up, I still do my job and pay my bills and be responsible. But I do it from a place of trust instead of terror. I work because I'm stewarding what God's given me, not because I'm desperately trying to earn my right to exist. I rest because God commanded it, not because I finally earned it by being productive enough. I sleep because God grants it to those he loves, and apparently I'm loved whether I'm hustling or horizontal. That's the shift. That's what the verse is after. Not stop working, but stop working in vain. Stop believing the lie that your anxious effort is what saves you. It doesn't. God does, even while you sleep. Especially while you sleep.